Hi everyone, it's Jamie from anysoftwareyouwant.com, and in this video I will be going over 16 ways to get free backlinks to your website. Now before we begin, please come and check out my website. I've got over 50 tools to grow your online empire. That's everything from SEO to email marketing, and I've got thousands of users, so please come and check it out. So, number one, forum backlinks. So these backlinks are very easy to create, but they are typically quite weak. So this is when you simply join a forum and you post a link to your website by making a new forum thread, or commenting on an existing one, or putting your link in a signature, and we'll have a look at those in a sec. There are a few little tricks you can do to make sure your links stick, as in they're less likely to get removed by the moderators of the forum, and there are a few tricks you can do to make the links more powerful as well, as in make them send more link juice to your website to boost your website higher up in the SERPs. And we'll look at some of the Google search strings you could use to find these forums as well. So it doesn't take long with a simple Google query to find some examples of the links we just talked about. So you can see here is a signature link. So this person's posted on this acoustic guitar forum. They've added their signature link and they've got themselves a do follow link in their signature there. And there's tons of forums where you can post a useful link and it will stick, and it will be a do follow link to your website in the body of the post rather than the signature. So I'll give you guys a couple of little tricks now as well. Sometimes if you're posted on a heavily moderated forum and you think, even if you post a message that offers value, it's a useful comment or a useful thread that you've started, but you link out from that thread and you think a mod might remove that link. A sneaky little trick I've seen people do. It doesn't work on all forums, but some forums allow you to post and then a day later go back and edit your post. So some people will do a sort of value packed post with no link, and obviously that'll stick. People are like, yeah, it's a great post, etc. And then you can go back the next day, edit it, and insert your link to your website, and it gets a lot less attention because it's a slightly older thread that's not on the home page and might not have as many responses of people looking at it and reporting the link, etc. So that's one trick. And another trick, so this is a way that you can get forum links and make them more powerful. So if you found a forum you want a link on, put it in a backlink tool, find out the most linked to threads, and then see if you can get a comment, drop a comment with a link on those threads. So it could be a signature link. If you think it'll stick, it could be a link in a message, in a post on there, but a signature link's fine. And the more links that forum thread page has to it, the more link juice that's going to be passed on through your signature link to your website. So that's a good way of getting stronger links from forums. Now just a few quick final things on forum backlinks. You can often get a do follow link on your profile as well. So when you join, you'll be able to go to your profile and click about, and often you can enter a website address and it's often a do follow link. And something you can do is sort of PR sculpting, where you can find the most popular pages on a forum, as in the ones that get the most backlinks, and you don't even need to post a comment to get a signature link or whatever. You can just like their posts, and often when you like people's posts on these forums, that creates an internal link because it says, Jamie liked this post or whatever, and that internal link will point to your profile, and then from your profile you're linking to your website. So you can go around linking all the most linked to posts on the forum and you go around liking them, and then that will funnel the link juice to your profile, and then that'll go to your website. So that's another little trick. And here we've got just a couple of basic ways of finding forums. It's normally easiest to find forums just by searching for whatever forum engine they're using. You'll get literally hundreds of thousands of results. And then this paste bin link here, this is just a little paste bin I made of example places where you can get profile links and forum links and things like that. As you can see, there's a lot of websites. Some of them might be out of date by the time you read this, but it'll give you a sort of good idea of what to look for. Number 2, profile links. So we won't go into this too much, but there's loads of systems where you can create a user account, such as what we just looked at, forums, but there's other platforms too where you can create an account, and then in the About Me you can put in a link to your website. So they're often kind of weak, although you can boost them up with that method that we just described. But they stick quite well because they're not really people's profiles aren't really sort of inspected that often. So it's an easy to make but weak link that will probably stick pretty well. Number 3, podcast links. So these are similar to profile links really, with a few slight differences. So you make a very basic podcast. To be honest, it doesn't have to be very good quality. It can be entirely AI generated if you like, and you upload it to these websites that list podcasts. And most podcasters have a website, and these websites allow you to link back to your own website, and it's often a DoFollow link. So they're fairly easy to make. They don't cost anything. They're not particularly strong because that profile, that podlink podcast profile page probably isn't going to have much internal link juice flowing to it, but they're more contextual than profile links normally, because you can add a ton of stuff about your podcast in there, and often an entire transcript. So they're okay. They're weakish links, but they're okay for low competition keywords. We'll just have a quick look at some here. See, it's very contextual, which is pretty good. Lots of text. There's another one, and another one, and another one. So you can see they're fairly easy. Number 4, blog comments. Now, I've been trying to put links that are most likely to be DoFollow on here, because obviously NoFollow doesn't pass any link juice, so it's debatable about if it's actually useful at all to have a NoFollow link. But I'm going to list blog comments here because they're just so easy to make, and it's if you're in a niche where you don't naturally get a lot of backlinks, and then you go and build 300 DoFollow links, it looks a bit sus, because if you look at a natural link profile, there's quite a healthy balance between NoFollow and DoFollow. So blog comments are a really easy way to build natural looking NoFollow links to your website. Now, as I said, most of them are NoFollow. Like over 99% of them are NoFollow. There are some DoFollow ones, but they're very difficult to find. And the only way I found them was by writing custom software to search for them, because you need to do it at that scale. They're so rare. And often people search for platforms that are DoFollow by putting various search queries in Google, and those ones are easier to find. But because they're easier to find, you'll find that they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spammy comments on them with links to spammy domains, so you don't want to link from that kind of website. But I'll show you in a minute a good DoFollow one. Something you can do is traffic jacking. So traffic jacking is basically just when you leave a really, really useful good comment on a high traffic page. So you can go to Ahrefs, put in a domain that's similar to your niche, and you can look at what are their most popular pages that are getting the most traffic, and that can be from social, organic, or whatever. And then if that blog allows comments, and there's not that many comments on the page, you can leave a really, really good comment, and often if you leave a really, really good comment, you can get away with linking straight to your website, and the owner of that website that you're commenting on will allow that link because you've put in time to generate a really useful comment to help him and his users. And it will probably be NoFollow still, but it will give you referral traffic, which is good in a couple of different ways. Obviously, more people come to your website, more money you make, but a lot of people think that referral traffic is a sort of ranking signal. It's debatable whether it is or isn't, but what's the harm? If you can generate traffic from somebody else's website pretty easily, then you may as well. So, as we were just talking about, here's an example of a do follow backlink that's a blog comment. They are very rare, but they do exist. You might be able to find an easy way of finding them with some clever, smart Google search queries, but I have to write custom software to find them. They're that rare. Number 5, guest posts. So this is where you email a website or use a contact form or whatever and say, I really like your website, can I write you some content, and in that content can I link back to my own website, please. Now, guest posts are the links that can either do absolutely amazing things for your ranking, they can push you up to that #1 spot, or they can do absolutely nothing at all, can even get you penalized. It depends on the type of guest posts that you get. So what I mean by that is you want high DR guest posts, so that's you want guest posts from websites that have lots of backlinks to them. You want guest posts from websites that are high traffic, because if they're high traffic, Google likes them, they haven't had some algorithmic penalty because they've been building bad links to their own website. You want them to be niche related. A backlink from a website that's in the same niche as you, from a trusted website in the same niche, is much more powerful than just some general blog. And then the thing that people often overlook is the outbound link count. And this is really important. This is probably just as important as the DR of the website or how much traffic it gets, because if you have a guest post backlink from a website with a really high outbound link count, that's bad for 2 main reasons. Firstly, if they're selling tons of guest posts and they're linking out to all kinds of websites, pharma, casino, whatever, Google's really good at looking at a website and saying, this website's linking all over the place, it's linking out to tons of different niches, it's linking out from loads of different places, this is clearly someone selling guest posts, it's a link farm, and they'll devalue all those outbound links. So you'll be paying for a link that's worth absolutely nothing, or you'll get it for free. You put in a lot of work, write some good content, build a relationship up, get the link, and then it's worth nothing. And the other reason you want a low outbound link count is that if you have a backlink from a website with tons of links, even if it hasn't been penalized by Google for excessive outbound linking to terrible sites, then you're sharing that link juice. If you have a link from a page that's got like tons of footer links to random websites, and then you get the guest post, but then they put in a load of niche edits into it to other websites, every time a page links out to a new domain, the link juice gets split amongst those domains. So you want ideally a backlink, guest post backlink from a website that only links out when it's a legit link, they're really powerful. Those are the ones that you want. So here's a few quick tips for getting accepted, because I actually used to own, well, I still do own it, but it's wound down now mostly, a website that was basically a massive index of websites that accepted guest posts. I think at its height it probably was the biggest collection of websites online that accepted guest posts. It had over like 100,000 websites in it, and that was custom software that I wrote to sort of crawl the internet and work out which websites were accepting guest posts or not, and I checked pretty much every website on the internet, so I do know a thing or two about guest posts. So first things first, you can go straight in with a pitch, and I'll show you a good way of doing that, but I would generally say build a relationship with them first. If you just go in with a "hi, can I have a link," the chances are pretty low. But if you go in with "hi, I like your website," and then start discussing a topic, and then show them that you're a subject matter expert, show them that you have a great website yourself, show them you have a social following yourself, and then say, would you be up for, me allowing you to write some content for you and having a link in it, you're going to get a much better success rate doing it that way. And next, offer them something of value, because we have things like ChatGPT now. Content, it's not really worth that much anymore. Like I could spin up a website pretty easily in a few days with tens of thousands of pages on it that are ChatGPT generated programmatically. Content doesn't really have that much value now. So offering content isn't really that much of a big deal anymore. So what can you offer them instead? If you don't want to spend money, what can you offer them? Do you have an email list that you can mention their website in? Do you have a social following you can post their website on? Can you do them, if they're not really that into SEO and blogging, but they've got a good website because they're passionate about their hobby, photography or whatever, can you do a free SEO audit for them? Try and think outside the box and offer them something of real value in return for letting you link to your website. Now, personalization when you do a pitch is really important. So if you're not going to build up a relationship with them first, and you're just going to do cold guest post outreach to a bunch of websites, then your first email needs to be as personalized as possible, because as I said before, I used to own a massive guest posting directory, and as part of that I'd have web pages that had big lists of websites in certain niches that accepted guest posts, and people would often land on there. They were being paid to send messages to people for guest posts. They wouldn't read my site, and they just send the message to me trying to get a post on my website, and because of that I got tens and tens, maybe even over 100 guest post pitches every day. So I can tell you that most of the time people don't put any effort into personalizing that guest post pitch, and even like the grammar and the spelling is often wrong. So if you're not willing to build a relationship with a person and then do the pitch, you can still sort of get ahead of everyone else by just sending even just a grammatically correct, highly personalized guest post pitch. That's enough to put you ahead of 95% of other people, and I'll show you quickly a tool that I built that does that. So this is a little tool on my website, anysoftwareyouwant.com. You can find a link for this on the home page, and the guest post pitch generator. You simply enter in a domain name that you'd like to get a guest post on, and it will download the homepage content, the about page content, the about us page, contact page content, all the relevant pages that might have useful information on to generate a highly personalized guest post pitch. So you enter the website, it'll download it, you'll download the contact page, etc., and then you will get a highly personalized pitch, and it will look like you've read all the content on the website, all the important pages, And also the other advantage of doing this is that if you keep sending the same pitch again and again and again, eventually Gmail will see that that particular email has an extremely low engagement rate, with people not reading it, deleting it, even marking it as spam sometimes, and it will just mean after 50 or so of them, you'll go into the junk and no one will see your pitch. So doing it this way, not only is it highly personalized, but you're far less likely to go into people's junk because every pitch you're sending is highly unique. Now, my final bit of advice for getting guest posts is past performance is the best indicator of future performance. And that's one of my favorite sayings because it's really true. And the best way to show someone that they should let you write a guest post for them is to show all the other guest posts you've done, and then also show them, if you've wrote a guest post for someone and then someone's backlinked to it, then tell this person you're sending the pitch to, look at this guest post I did for this other person, it got them some backlinks to their website. Or if they haven't had any backlinks to the post you did, look at the traffic in any SEO tool you like, Ahrefs or whatever, and say, this article I wrote, look at the traffic it's generating. I can do that for you for free. So, give them a reason, show them that what you do is actually useful and your content is going to be useful for their website. Now, one final quick thing before we move off guest posts, because they're such a big popular way of getting strong niche relevant links to your website. Let's have a quick look at what would be a good website to have a guest post on and what would be a bad website to have a guest post on. Now, I wrote a tool called PBN Checker, and it's on my website, anysoftwareyouwant.com. And this tool is for trying to determine if a website is a legitimate website or it's a PBN. It's like a cheap website where they're just selling links and trying to make money from selling links, and it's not a real business with customers and stuff. It's the sort of website you would not want a link from. So, but you can also use this tool to see if you would want a guest post from that website. And how the tool works, you basically enter in the website that you're considering getting a link from, and it will scan every page on that website, and it will download the HTML from every page, and it will extract all the outbound links. And from that, it will show you what is the average outbound link count per page, and it will show you the domains that it's linking to. It will show the anchor text that are being used, and from all that information you can determine, does this look like a legitimate website or not? And I'll just quickly go through a few examples. We'll go through some good ones and some bad ones that the tool picks up, and I'll explain why they're good and why they're bad. So let's start with some good ones. So I put into Google Write for Us tech, and then I went through the websites and just picked some random ones. So I would say this is a good website here because it has a total of 300 pages, and then excluding the site-wide links, you've got 70 outbound links that we found in 300 pages. So, on average that's 0.23 outbound links per page, which is pretty good. And if we go through the text, none of that is like spammy looking. The domains all look legit. That looks like a fine place to get a guest post from, assuming the DR is fine and the traffic's fine as well. And here's another one, and this one really surprised me. So there's only 90 pages on the website, but there's only 3 outbound links, which was pretty interesting. So that's definitely a legit website. And again, here's another one. We scanned 300 pages, and there was only 10 non-site-wide outbound links, and that looks fine to me. So let's have a look at one, and that's another good one. Let's have a look at one that is not fine. So this is a website, random website found by Googling Write for Us and tech, and it's 300 pages, and we found 309, excluding site-wide links, 309 outbound links. So, that's above one outbound link per page. And if we open up some of these links, we can see that, to me, this just looks like a niche edit. This looks like a website that is just selling niche edit. So those are just people are asking them for links, and they're saying, okay, yeah, give me $100 or whatever, and I'll insert your link here into an existing article. Because I don't think if you're selling, if you're selling an e-com web design service, you wouldn't really just randomly link to this other e-com design guide, and there's tons of this happening on this website. And given the outbound link count as well, I think they're just selling links on this site. So that's one to avoid. Now, this is an interesting one that I found, because the outbound link count is huge. On average, there's over 14 outbound links per page. But if you scroll through the anchor text, none of them look spammy. And so I had a better look, and it's a business directory. And it looks like a legit one as well. So sometimes there are legitimate reasons for a high outbound link count. So it's always worth just manually having a poke around a website and seeing if there's a legit reason they're linking out so much. But typically there isn't really a legit reason, unless they're a directory like this. They're normally just selling links if they have a really high outbound link count. And then if you look at the pages and they're like, that's a bit of a weird place to have a link, then it's pretty obvious what they're doing. So number 6, brand mentions. So this is pretty simple. If you put your domain name or your brand name in quotes into Google, then you will see all of the mentions of your domain name or your brand name. Now, often people will mention a brand, or they'll say you can get it from anysoftwareyouwant.com, but they'll just type the domain out. They won't turn it into a hyperlink because it's slightly more effort, and often people are in a rush, etc. So you basically find these brand mentions where people are talking about your brand, your website, and you just ask them, can you turn this into a hyperlink for me? And the best way to get good results with this is to explain why it's in their best interest to do this. So you can say things like, it's a better user experience if people can just click a link and it opens a new window rather than having to copy and paste the domain, etc. You can offer them something of value. Do you want a link back from my site? Do you want to be posted on my social? Do you want to be in my email list or whatever? And also you can say, look, it's good for SEO. If you link, a lot of people think and it's debatable, but a lot of people think if you link out to a website or a web page that is related to your content topic on your page, then that's a good signal to Google to say, yeah, this person's definitely writing about this particular topic. And some people think that's a good ranking signal. So you can even put that in your pitch, but you've got to give them some decent reasons to put the effort in to log into their CMS and change that to a hyperlink. But you can get great results with this. You can get some very natural, very strong links. So it's definitely worth trying. And another little trick you can do with this is you can use something called Google Alerts. So that'll basically send you an email when your brand is mentioned. So you can configure it to look for your domain or your brand name, and then when it crawls some new content that has your brand in it, it will alert you. And then you can immediately reach out to them and say, can you change this to a hyperlink because blah blah blah. But you're more likely to get a successful response because they've just, it's fresh in their mind and they've just done it and they haven't moved on to something else yet. So you're more likely to get a better success rate using Google Alerts. So there's another little trick for you. So next we have resource and links pages. So a lot of people, when they have a blog, or even a lot of businesses actually, they'll have a resource page or a links page, and that's where they just put collections of other businesses and other websites that offer useful related resources. And they're actually quite good pages to get links from, because they're nearly always legit websites. The only downside of them is that the link juice is often split quite a lot because there's a high outbound link count on those link pages. So I'll give you a quick example of some. So you can use this search modifier here in URL links or in URL resources, and then put your niche in there, gardening, and you'll see, look, there's just tons and tons of them, and often, yeah, see, there's quite a lot of links on there, but it's still useful. It's still a link normally from a legit website. And often, if you have a really good website, people are often like perfectly happy to link to your site from these pages, because it's what these pages are for, and it's very easy for them to go in as well and just add a new link. They're not publishing a new article or anything. Number 8, testimonial links. Now, these links are hardly ever talked about, but they can be literally the most powerful links you can get. So testimonial links are basically where you try somebody's product, normally for free, or sometimes it can be if you're an existing customer, and in return you give a good testimonial about how amazing their product is, and then the owner of that product puts that testimonial on their homepage, and they normally link back to your website. So when people read that testimonial, they can see who you are. So those links are amazing because they're from legit businesses, legit companies. They're not going to be some sort of PBN or link farm or whatever, and those links are going to be on the homepage. And for those of you that don't know, homepage links are really, really powerful. And the reason they're powerful is because most websites have their inbound links pointing at their homepage. So most of the link juice is flowing into their homepage, and then if they link out to your website from their homepage, you're going to get a good chunk of that link juice. So they're super strong. And also, it's not just about link juice. It's a really strong sort of signal to Google, to say, we trust this website so much we're willing to link to them from our homepage. So testimonial backlinks are very, very powerful. And I'll give you a really quick example, because I link out from my own website to other people's website from my homepage because they've given me a good testimonial about my software. So these people, all these people here, are getting a free backlink from my homepage because they've given me a good testimonial. So that's a real life example of a testimonial backlink there. Now, the most important thing about trying to get testimonial backlinks is, in your pitch, you have to basically explain why you are good social proof. So social proof is basically when you try and sell a product or get a new customer or whatever, and you use what other people are saying about you or your product to convince people to buy it. So when you do a pitch for a testimonial backlink, you have to say to that website, I'm a subject matter expert, look at my website, people will care what I think of your product, and if you can convince them, then you're way more likely to get that, testimonial backlink. So you just have to really sort of help them understand why people are going to care that you're saying their product is really good. So number 9, Web 2.0. So these are a bit old school, but they're okay for low competition keywords. So Web 2.0s are basically, they're typically subdomains that you can create on somewhere like WordPress.com, and we'll have a look at some in a minute, just quickly. So they're easy to make, and as I said, they're okay for low competition because you can make, especially with AI now, you can get AI to write all the content for you, and you can very quickly make a 30-page, Web 2.0 website. And then you can even power them up with tiered links that you build through GSA, or cheap PBN links or something. People have mixed results with tiered link building these days, but I still think it works for low competition keywords. So if we just put site WordPress into Google, you can see these are Web 2.0s that are hosted on WordPress.com. And you can see you can just come along and make your own, put whatever content or whatever links you want on them. Number 10, cloud stacks. So cloud stacks are basically backlinks to your website from cloud platforms. So that's things like Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, AWS, all those big cloud compute providers. They allow you to upload files to their storage systems. So I'll show you how to make a GCP bucket backlink. And what people do is they basically build tiers of these links all pointing to each other and then finally pointing to your website. So they're very easy to make. They're very high DR. They've got tons of backlinks pointing to the domain or the root domain that they're on, and they're very high traffic. However, when you create a new storage bucket and you upload your web page into it that backlinks to your website, that's essentially an orphaned page. So although it's on a really, really strong domain, there's no internal link juice flowing to it. So I think they do help for low competition keywords, but don't get too excited that you've got a backlink from a super, super strong domain with tons of traffic, because there's no internal link juice flowing to the web page that's linking to your web page. So let's take a look at how to make one of these backlinks. So this is a finished one that I've literally made just now. It's a really, really simple page. Just as an example, you can see we've got a NoFollow backlink, just some random gardening website I'm using as an example. You can see it's on this domain here. This is my cloud storage bucket name, and then I uploaded index.html. And if we look at this domain, subdomain that it's on, not even the root domain, then you can see it's got like a domain rating of 93. So that's got tons of super strong links. You can see there's 229,000 backlinks pointing to that subdomain, and most of them are NoFollow. So I'll show you how I made that. So you just make a new bucket, create a HTML file with a link in it, drop it into your bucket, and then you've just got to edit your bucket so that it's publicly accessible. And how you do that on GCP is you type all users, and then you give it a cloud storage reader, and that's it. Then it's publicly accessible, and you've got a super strong backlink. Number 11, business directories. So these are all over the internet. They can be local or niche related, and you simply just go to them, upload your website, and you'll get a backlink to your website. So they are good for local SEO, but I would say there's so many outbound links that even if you get a NoFollow link, the link juice is divided up quite a lot between all those other outbound links. But I think they're good to use as part of like a balanced backlink profile of lots of different types of links, so it all looks natural, and they can be quite easy to make. So yeah, I'd make some at the start of your backlink campaign to a new website. They're sort of like foundation links, really. Number 12. Broken link building. So this is where you find broken links on websites that you would like a link from, and you email the website and you say, hey, you've got this broken link here. It used to link to this article. Now that article's not there. Would you like to replace that link with a link to my website that has a similar article. Now these links take a little bit longer to get because you obviously can't just make them yourself. This involves outreach and getting people to change fixed dead links on their websites. But it's one of those things where, because it's not a link you can make yourself, it has a much higher value. So these are really good links. These are probably, on average, slightly better than guest posting links. They're pretty good. You can get some really decent, high DR websites with good traffic that will replace a broken link to so it now points to an article on your website. Now there's loads of tools that'll find these links for you. Here's one I wrote on my website. You simply enter your website and it'll tear through all of the pages on the website, downloading the HTML, extracting the outbound links and checking if they work. So here is, just pick this random one here, this example. This is a dead link that we found on this food blogging website. If we open it up, you can see the link is dead. And one of the cool little tricks you can do is you can actually go back to the Wayback Machine, put in the URL of the dead article or link or whatever, and then you can see what it used to be. And that's handy because you can basically just take, if it's an article, which it normally is, you can take the article, put it into ChatGPT, rewrite it, and then put it on your own website and say, look, I got an article that's pretty much the same as the one you were linking to, but that one's broken and my one's working. Why don't you fix that dead link and just link to my article? And a lot of the time they will just fix the link and link to your article, because it's easier to just fix a link than it is to edit content, to take the link out and all the content around it related to the link, and then they've got to remember what the article's about. They've got to read it to know what content to take out, so that when they take the link out it still makes sense, etc. So yeah, often they will change it because it's just the easier thing to do. And most webmasters don't realize you can actually just link to the Wayback Machine version of a dead link, but most of them don't realize that, so they're likely to change it to your working version of the link. So when you're trying to get these broken links, try and explain why they should do it. So say to them, it's a bad user experience, because not only is it a dead link, sometimes if you have a dead link that's gone to a dead domain, as in the domain has expired, sometimes they can be purchased again and repurposed for gambling websites, adult websites. There's been loads of times where I've clicked a legitimate link on a website and it's taken me through to something I really did not want to click at work, because the domain has expired and someone's reused it for something completely different. So that's good to include in your pitch. And also you can include in your pitch how dead links are just bad for SEO as well. A lot of people think linking out to a relevant article from your own article is a good signal about what your article is about, and they're probably right. And also it just looks bad to Google if you've got broken links all over the place. So those are two things you can put in your pitch to increase your success rate with broken link building. Number 13, HARO links. So HARO is an abbreviation of helpareporterout.com. It's a website that connects journalists with sources. So if a journalist is writing an article on their news website and they need to show a quote from someone who they consider to be a subject matter expert, then this website will connect the journalist with the source, which would be you. So it's pretty easy to use. You just register, and then you'll get a couple of emails every day that will basically give you a description of a query from a journalist, and it'll give you what their news website or what their blog is, and there'll be a query that the journalist has, and then you just have to respond with a short answer to that query. A journalist might want to know about a certain geopolitical situation somewhere, or even something more mundane about the safety of a child's toy or something like that. And as long as you can demonstrate that you are, an expert in that area, then they can quote you, and they'll normally link to your website as well to show who you are when they're discussing that topic in their news article. And these are often really good links because they can come from very well respected news publications, and they're often high traffic websites, high DR websites, tons of links linking to them, so you're going to get a ton of that link juice flowing through to your website. And they're often niche related as well. But keep in mind, you're only going to land these links if you can demonstrate to that journalist that you are an expert in this area. So you have to have a legit website, ideally some sort of social proof. But if you can show that, then you'll get some great links. Number 14, PDF uploads. Now this is a bit of a dark art really, it's a bit black hat, but I thought I would include it because you don't really see many SEO practitioners talk about PDF upload links because they can be quite difficult to create. But basically a PDF link is pretty simple. You find somewhere that allows you to upload a PDF, and within that PDF you link back to your website, and then you make sure that PDF gets indexed. It's as simple as that, really. Now, to make sure that that PDF does get indexed, you may have to use an indexing service, because sometimes if you find somewhere that will allow you to upload a PDF, it won't have any internal links pointing to it. So you might have to use an indexing service that points other links at it to get Google to crawl and index it, and then in turn index your links. Now, it's debatable how much link juice passes through PDF links. It's not as much as HTML links, we don't think, but they do pass link juice. So if you can find a .gov or a .edu site where you can upload a PDF, then that's probably worth doing. And if you want to see some examples of this, so I've chosen sort of a black hat niche here, just because this is sort of often a black hat thing, but not necessarily always. It can be done in a white hat way. But if we use the search operator here, file type PDF, and we put in Clash of Clans, you can see there's tons of PDFs that are related to Clash of Clans. Now, some of them are just part of a website and they're meant to be there, and others are being uploaded by people in sneaky ways to get backlinks and redirects and stuff. And if we open a few of them up, you can see this looks like a legitimate one, and you can see there's links here, so they'll pass links juice. And then you can see some ones that have redirected to these random websites. They're sort of black hat stuff. This one's a legit one. You can see some more links, and again this one redirected to some spammy ad blocker thing. So you can see it is a bit of a grey hat thing, but it is worth knowing about, because you might see your competitor has a ton of PDF documents with their brand in pointing to their website, and they might not. I don't actually know if they show up in Ahrefs and most SEO tools, backlink tools. A few other things to note. So I said it can be tricky to find upload opportunities for them, and if you upload your PDF with a backlink to your website into somewhere where you're not meant to upload it, then those backlinks might not always stick. Number 15, infographic links. So this is where you email a website that has some content that you know something about, and you basically say to them, your content's great, but it would be better if it was more visual. Here is an infographic. You have my full permission to use it, but I do ask that you link back to my website in return. Now, this is a good source of links because you're going to be reaching out to legitimate websites with high DR and high traffic, and they're not likely to be link farm websites or anything spammy, so they're a good source of links. And the cool thing about this is that this is so much easier now. There's AI image generation. You can make some pretty cool stuff pretty quickly so you can sort of do this at scale, and it may even get to the point soon where you can automate the entire process, where you can crawl a website, feed the pages into a large language model, make them generate an infographic, and then scrape the contact email and automatically email the pitch to them with the graphic. You know, if you're a coder, that's all doable. And if you want to get a good idea of what an infographic should look like, just type infographic diet into Google Images, and you can see there's tons of infographics about what a healthy diet looks like, etc. Number 16. CMS templates, plugins and widgets. So often when you install a free WordPress template, there's often a link in the footer back to the person who created the template. Obviously that person wants some credit for their work, and they want, you know, some more business, so they put a little link back to their website. And the other thing that does is it gives them link juice from your home page. Now, it's possible that it's devalued a little bit because it's a link in the footer and it's often a site-wide link, but it's still a decent link. So that's one thing you can do if you are willing to make WordPress templates. You can upload them to various websites where other people download WordPress templates, and you can put a little link in the bottom of the template back to your own website. Something else people often do is make a WordPress plugin, and then you upload it to the WordPress store, and then people can just go and search for a contact form or a BMI calculator or anything like that. And as long as the plugin creates some sort of public-facing page, you can put a link back to your own website, and Google will index that link, and you'll get link juice from that. So if you can code, you can make a plugin. That's another good option. And something else you can do similar to a plugin is a widget. So you can, again, if you can code, you can make a bit of JavaScript, host it externally on your website or a CDN or whatever, and then you can make it that they can include a call to that external JavaScript file on their website, and when they call that file, it will render a widget, and that could be a BMI calculator or something like that. And then when that widget renders on their page, you can make it, using JavaScript, create a backlink to your web page. And of course Google renders JavaScript and CSS, etc., so that will get indexed and you'll get link juice pointing back. So here's just a quick example of a footer link in a WordPress template. So anyone that installs this WordPress template, which you can get from templatemonster.com, they'll have a footer backlink, NoFollow link back to Template Monster, so they'll get some link juice from that. So that concludes our video. Hopefully you've enjoyed learning these 16 ways to get free backlinks to your website. Some of them are really, really very powerful links that can really boost your rankings. Some of them are easier to create, but they're weaker for low competition keywords. Some of them are white hat, some of them are black hat. There's a good mix in there. Obviously, if you're building black hat links to your website, make sure you know what you're doing. Don't get your website in trouble. And that's it. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and any comments I'll be happy to respond to. And as always, thank you for watching.